All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here on time. We had to get the tech ready and all that good stuff. Look, man, I got a guest tonight that I've been wanting to talk to for a while. I met him in Philly. I love him like you love him, guys. He is Jimmy Dore from so many shows. The Jimmy Dore Show comedian. I call him a journalist. I call him one of the real journalists out there. Give it up for our guy, Jimmy Dore, y'all.
Hey, everybody. Yay. All right. I like being called a journalist. I'll take it. I have done some journalism. I don't do journalism all the time, but I have done some, and it is fun.
It's like, dude, like what you do and what I try to do is so different than what we see on TV. You know, I don't even know, gosh, man, I don't even know if I want to put us in the same category, man. I think you're like a truth teller and a comedian, which is great.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. You know, I wouldn't put us in the same category as corporate news at all, Tim. What you and I do, because we don't have to please anybody except ourselves. And that's why people are drawn to shows like ours, because they can sense the authenticity. And when they watch Wolf Blitzer or Chris Hayes, they can sense the inauthenticity and the $30,000 a day that is corrupting their view of the news. We don't have $30,000 a day given to us by a huge multinational corporation that wants to implement a bunch of corporate stuff that's bad for people. So we get to tell the truth on a daily basis, which is why I have a feeling they want to shut us up and why we've been demonetized and why a lot of stuff like that has been happening lately.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been taking over, man. I think that the internet's been like on fire. New commentators are popping up, and people are actually paying attention to us as opposed to the corporate crap. You think that's the real reason why we've been demonetized, Jimmy?
I think that, you know, I don't think you have to be a conspiracy nut to think that, especially because it all started because of a kind of a BS article in the Wall Street Journal, of all places, about advertisements running on a David Duke video, and then everybody freaked out. And it turns out this all happened right at the precipice of World War III, right? So the military-industrial complex is trying to get us into a war with Russia, and we want to overthrow Syria and Assad. And the only people really speaking against that with a microphone are people on the internet. And because people in corporate news, it's ubiquitous. They're beating the drum for war louder than anybody over at MSNBC. So there is no anti-war network. There is no progressive peace network. So that falls on us here on the internet, on YouTube and wherever people can get us away from corporate media, and we can actually tell the truth about all that stuff going on. And so when we start doing that, that's going to cut into their profits. Like I told you, or I've told my audience, that as soon as Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes or Ed Schultz says something that costs Comcast a nickel, they will fire them. And that's why Ed Schultz was fired. You know why Phil Donahue was fired? He had the highest rated show on their network. They fired Phil Donahue because he was against the Iraq War. At the time, MSNBC was owned by General Electric, which is a huge defense contractor, and they wanted a war. They wanted more war. They wanted to sell more tanks and more whatever. And so they fired Phil Donahue for low ratings, even though he had the highest ratings on the network. Now, isn't it weird? You think they would bring back guys like Phil Donahue, who got the Iraq War right. You think they'd want them on all the time. He is nowhere to be seen on MSNBC or any other news network, by the way. So, yes, I think it's not, you don't have to be a conspiracy theory to think that the corporate news does not want voices like us telling the truth about the military-industrial complex and all these bullshit wars. That is for sure they don't want us doing that. And I think for an easy way to try to get rid of us is to demonetize us. Well, it's not getting rid of us, because it turns out just like people are hungry for real progressive politics, the two most popular politicians in the country are Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. People are hungry for our kind of news, Tim. People are hungry for your kind of news. People are hungry for my kind of news. I do live shows now. They sell out weeks in advance. And when people come up to me, they don't say, hey, that show was really funny. They say, thanks for doing what you're doing. And that's a big difference. I've been a nightclub comedian for 30 years. People would always tell me how much fun they had. Now they tell me, thanks for doing what you're doing.
Wow. Killer. That's killer right there, man. That is killer. Oh, man. You know, hey, look, I had actually a question that falls right into that, so let me go with it now. Momo Pineno wants to know, he says, you blend comedy so well with your commentary. what is the writing process like with your team for your weekly shows?
Okay, so we draw from a lot of different writers. You know, Frank Conniff writes for the show, Robert Yesamura, Jim Earl. He's a former Daily Show writer, and Frank Conniff's from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and, you know, Ron Placone. So we have a handful of writers. They're all very funny. And what happens is when there's a news story, I'll send them a video clip of something I want to talk about.
Right.
And I'll say, you know, and they'll write some jokes, and then we'll incorporate them into the show that way. And so that's pretty much, it's like a video clip or a news story. I'll send it to the fellas, and then they'll send me some jokes back, and I like telling the news with jokes. You know, jokes, I think, really can expose the truth sometimes way better than anything else. And that's what really makes, you know, the kind of comedy I do funny, is when it has that ring of truth.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Like, you know, when I met you in Philly, Jimmy, and it was really cool to meet up with you. And first thing I said, man, well, the last thing I said was, don't ever change, man. Do not ever change, because you know, you just speak whatever. Everyone, I know I can speak for a lot of people, and I say, you seem so authentic, Jimmy. Like, I don't think there's an amount of money that you could be given to be a fake dude. I don't think you could look in the mirror. You seem like one of those guys, you'd be like, yeah, fuck that. I can't do it. I can't sell my soul. Am I on the right track with you?
Well, Tim, I'll tell you this. I keep asking, you know, everybody's saying, you know, the corporations, how are you going to resist them? I keep asking them to try to, you know, sell me out. I'm ready, but no one's offering me money. So I guess I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. No, you know what? You know, they did a study, I don't know how long ago, but I don't know if you heard about that study where they tried to figure out how much money it took to be happy. Well, they figured out that after $75,000 a year, more money didn't make you more happy. Now, I'm guessing that would be higher now, maybe 100,000, because that study's a couple of years old, and in certain parts of the country, it's more expensive to live. So, but there is a set number where afterwards, more money doesn't make you more happy, and that number is a lot lower than people think. So once you have a house, and once you have a bed, and once you can go to the doctor when you get sick, and once you have food what else do you really need? I mean, you know, it's that from Wall Street. It's like, how many yachts can you ski behind at the same time? So I don't really need that much. I don't understand what Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow, they literally get $30,000 a day. You know, Matt, who's the guy from the Today Show? Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer gets $100,000 a day to do that show. A day. Because he gets $25 million a year. That's $500,000 a week. There's 52, right? So that's $500,000 a week. 5 days in the work week, that's $100,000 a day. That's unbelievable. So I don't even know how you could even relate to anyone after you're making that kind of money. You know, in his contract, Matt Lauer, not to pick on Matt Lauer, I think he's a fine guy. But Matt Lauer, in his contract, he has to be flown in to Manhattan to do the show 3 times a day on a helicopter. The other two days of the week he has to drive in. That's tough. But 3 days a week he gets flown in. That's in his contract. So I'm not. No, I mean, how much money do you need? My point is, I think we have enough money. And if somebody came along offering me millions and millions of dollars, what would I do? You can't eat but more than one dinner at a time.
Right.
You can't sleep in more than one bed at a time. You can't drive more than one car at a time. And you can't wear more than one pair of pants at a time. So people who get lured by the big money, it's funny because it doesn't really have that effect on me.
Man, that's so refreshing to hear. But God, those numbers, man, that's killing me. That 30, you said, God damn, Matt Lauer, like, you're right. Like, how could they not be in the bubble? I almost feel bad about talking crap about these guys when you imagine it's probably it's impossible for a human being to be in that type of tax bracket and have like any relation to like people who like get up and go to work, drag their asses out of bed every Monday morning, you know what I'm saying? And maybe deal with a boss they don't like and have like having to choose which cereal to get based on price or, you know, should I get the car tuned up? I think I can go another 100 miles. I don't really have it. Like, they don't relate to any of that stuff, Jimmy. And how could they? How could they?
In fact, I love what Matt Lauer, one time I was watching him on the news, and he was talking about something happening in Ohio. He goes, you know, in Ohio, you know, where there's regular people, not like here in New York, in Manhattan. And I'm like, really? So that's how removed Matt Lauer is from regular people. You can't find any regular people in fucking New York City, Matt?
Wow.
Really? There aren't any janitors, there aren't any fast food workers or cab drivers or Uber drivers or maids or street sweepers, or there's none of those people in Manhattan.
Nothing.
No regular people. They're all guys like you walking around in $6,000 suits. I don't think so. So that just shows you how out of touch they are too. Like, well, how can we possibly be regular people? I never see regular people. That's because you get limousined around every place and you get flown in on a helicopter 3 times a week. And then you go to a TV studio, $1 billion TV studio, and you talk to other millionaires.
Yeah, when you got that type of money, you don't even have to use the bathroom alone. Like, you have somebody wipe for you. You know what I mean? Somebody who's always on point, just there beside you, doing whatever you need. You sneeze, they blow your nose, they wipe your nose for you. I mean, anything. I mean, that type of money is really easily corruptible. I got another question for you, Jimmy.
Sure.
Let's go with Bon Kim. Oh, this is a great question. Bon Kim says, Jimmy and Tim, if you were able to choose one comedian to come back from the dead to comment on our current state of affairs, who would it be, and what do you think they would say, Jimmy? I already know what you're going to say.
It would be, well, it's a little. He's not as well known as other comedians, but Bill Hicks is my favorite guy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks died in 1994. And I think 94 or 95. He died young, and he was a real truth teller, like George Carlin. I would love to see both those guys. I mean, those guys. George Carlin was one of the reasons I got into comedy. Bill Hicks was one of the reasons why I almost quit comedy, because I knew I would never be as good as he was. And so I don't know what he would say. That's why I'd like to hear him come back. If I knew what he was going to say, I wouldn't be as exciting. So I don't know what he's going to say. That's why I would love to hear what Bill Hicks and George Carlin would have to say.
Damn it, Jimmy, you took both the people I wanted to say, man. God, man. And look, I'm not phoning it in either. Those are the two people that popped into my head, man. I will say this, though. I believe that whatever they were saying, they'd be saying a lot of it, right? And they would neither be Democrat nor Republican. They wouldn't be doing what our comedians are doing in the mainstream corporate sellout propaganda, spokesmodel, whatever this crap is we got like Seth Meyers doing every night or whatever. They wouldn't be doing that crap. They'd be making some enemies, man. They'd be,
Yes. That's
guys.
Why, that's why when you look at guys, like when you look at the corporate media, even one of my favorite guys like Stephen Colbert, I mean, he's just more of he's more promoting the establishment now. He's against Trump like everybody, and he's a corporate Democrat, it seems like. So, which is a big hurt, because nobody was better than Stephen Colbert. I mean, he's still the most talented guy. I mean, I think he's just a genius. And it's hard to make millions and millions of dollars inside of a system and then try to break that system. So that's the problem. When you look at when you look at one of the comedians on TV, the problem is they're becoming millionaires off of a system that is corrupt and ruining the rest of the country. So that's why you don't get a critique of the system from these guys like we really need. You get critique of certain politicians, or maybe even the Republican Party, or maybe even Walt, but you'll never get a real critique of the system. And that's what I think that real comedians need. Because right now, I mean, they're getting rich off the system. They are the system. Right. So that's a big problem.
And there's got to be limitations. I mean, if you bite the hand that feeds you, these systems that you talk about, I'm guessing military-industrial complex, the big pharmaceutical industry, these people pay money. They pay your salary, in effect, when they pay for the advertising space or whatever. So, yeah, I mean. Exactly,
Tim. Tim, if you watch Meet the Press, or you watch that nightly news, who is advertising, right? I saw Boeing advertise. Are you in the market for a jet? I'm not in the market for a jet. They had Archer Daniels Midland, Boeing, right? So General Electric. So all these companies are advertising on the news products that the people who watch the news don't buy. Why are they advertising? Because they're not funding investigations of their corporation. They are giving money to the news because they want to defund investigations of their corporations. Archer Daniel Midland doesn't give money to Meet the Press so they'll investigate them. They give money to Meet the Press so they don't investigate them.
Ow.
Same thing with Halliburton, same thing with Raytheon, same thing with Boeing, same thing with Walmart. If you know, your news is being brought to you by multinational corporations, the oil, fossil fuel industries, and the military-industrial complex. That's who's bringing you the news. And you wonder why we've been in perpetual war for the last 20 years? We've been in Afghanistan now going on 16 years straight. 4 more years, that war can retire.
Man, you are vicious, man. I love it, man.
I ain't following no banana.
Jimmy doesn't give a shit. I told people, I said, it's going to be hard-hitting, side-splitting realness, and there's some Hillary kicking. Look.
Well, let me tell you, think about this, Tim. There were people who weren't even born on 9/11 who are going to be going into the military next year to go to Afghanistan to fight a war that started before they were born. Think about that. That's how long this war has been going on, and it ain't never ending. So this is what Orwell talked about, perpetual war for perpetual peace, right? So it's funny that in Syria, they say Assad killed some of his people with gas. So we have to kill some of his people with Christian bombs. You know, they're Christian bombs. They don't hurt you. They dodge women, they dodge babies, and they just go up to the military guys and they hug them to death.
Wow. I saw a post on Twitter that Lee Camp sent out the other day, and he said that someone from the Pentagon released a statement or some report that said 8 times or 9 times out of 10 that the drone attacks don't hit the intended target.
So 90% of the people who are killed by drones are civilians.
Right.
We also manufacture cluster bombs in the United States, and we sell them to Saudi Arabia, one of the most repressive theocracies in the world. And then Saudi Arabia takes the cluster bombs, which most of the world considers a war crime that we don't, though, in America, because we make them. They take those cluster bombs, Saudi Arabia does, and they drop them on fishing villages in Yemen. And they kill 90% of the people killed are civilians. So when they tell you that we're bombing Syria because we want to help people, that is 100% bullshit. America, as Chomsky says, is running the biggest fucking terrorist organization in the world. It's called our drone program. And you just let us know why, because our drone program kills innocent people. That's why.
Absolutely. Give it up for that, guys. Give it up for that. I tell people all the time, one of the biggest problems I have, Jimmy, is that, now that it's Donald Trump in the office, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem criticizing him, but it really smarts, it really stings when I know that we weren't doing, the mainstream media was not shining light on the same types of activities like dropping bombs, drone strikes, perpetual war when it was a Democrat in the office. So, what's your take on how, I don't know, what happened the last 8 years? Where was, the focus? Why weren't they focusing on Obama?
Okay, so we're living in the middle of a neoliberal nightmare, all right? So we got so tired of the Republicans and their warmongering and their corporatism that we elected a complete Democratic government and as president, a black guy with a Muslim name. And they had complete control of government. And what did they do? They gave us a bunch of corporate-friendly right-wing fucking policies anyway. When the Democrats had complete control of government, both houses and the presidency, they didn't give us single payer. They didn't give us Medicare for all. They didn't even give us a fucking public option, Tim. They gave us Romney Care, which we would have had Barack Obama not been elected anyway. He didn't break up the banks. He doesn't institute antitrust legislation. Barack Obama cut food stamps. Did you know that? By billions of dollars. Barack Obama instituted austerity. Barack Obama wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. It was called the Grand Bargain, and the goddamn Republicans stopped him. That's what happened to the Democratic Party. And it all started with Barack Obama. It started with Bill Clinton in the 90s when he started a thing called the Democratic Leadership Council. You ever heard that called the DLC? And who was on the board of the DLC? Executives from the Koch brothers. That was Bill Clinton's big idea, is we're going to do triangulation, meaning get in bed with Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma, and Silicon Valley. So we're going to turn our back on workers, which is that's why NAFTA passed. George Herbert Walker Bush could not pass NAFTA because the Democrats stood up against it in Congress. Bill Clinton came in and passed NAFTA because now the corporate Democrats had a cover because Bill Clinton was for it. So Bill Clinton passed passed NAFTA, would cut the legs out from underneath unions right then. At the same time, he exploded the prison population and he gutted welfare. That's Ronald Reagan's fucking wet dream, and it was accomplished by people, a Democrat. Democrats are doing shit that only Republicans could dream of. He also deregulated Wall Street. Ronald Reagan could have never deregulated Wall Street like that. He repealed the New Deal banking regulations, and within 10 years, the economy was fucking crashed. And who bailed out Wall Street? Working people. Barack Obama then saved Wall Street, and he did not save Main Street. That was a lie. He did not do that. 10 million foreclosures was their plan.
When you say it like that,
going.
when you say it like that, Jimmy, it makes me almost not want to vote Democrat again for a while. Damn. But no, I totally agree, man. I catch a lot of flack because too many black folks identify with Barack Obama because he looks like them in skin tone. But I keep telling them it doesn't matter. And when people say, Tim, what is something good that Obama did? He had to do something good. Please tell us he did something good. Admit it. I say, yeah, he showed to us, but African Americans or black folks particularly, that it doesn't matter what color you are if you're going to sell out. So, like, white people know that because they get sold out all the time. They had Bill Clinton, for instance. But black folks now realize, I'm trying to help them realize that, yeah, it doesn't matter what you look like if you're owned by corporate sponsors. And that's what Obama was. And I think it was real. And I always say, Jimmy, and I've been trying to tell people, like, I only have one agenda. And that only agenda, Jimmy, is to get black folks to stop automatically voting Democrat. It doesn't mean they can never vote Democrat again, but they got to be able to get something for their vote, because as long as the Democrats get to automatically count black votes as in the basket, then that means they don't have to work as hard with the rest of us, and that means we don't get the policies we need. So that's my only agenda. Do you have some like overarching a thing that you're shooting for when you're speaking out?
Yeah, my overarching thing is to wake up the left that Barack Obama put to sleep. So when Barack Obama is president, he gets up there and he knows all the words that the Democrats want to hear. He knows the language of populism. He knows how to talk. But when it comes to legislation, when he says, I'm going to save Main Street and, we can't have the people who drove us into the ditch drive us out of the ditch. He hired the exact same fucking people who drove us into the ditch. He got Larry Summers and Rubin and Timothy Geithner. He did exactly what Trump did. We're going to drain the swamp. Trump fucking drained the swamp, and he found his cabinet there at the bottom. Same thing with Barack Obama. We know Barack Obama's cabinet came from an email from inside a Citicorp, and almost every person on that email ended up in his cabinet. So the reason why Ralph Nader ran in 2000 was because we had one party rule. We still have one party rule. Right now, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are Republicans who are cool with abortion and gay people. And by the way, they were real late to the party for gay people too. Right. So it's just that's what we have, and people aren't. So right now, people are waking up to it. That's why Trump is president, and people are making the mistake, or there's a big group of people or a loud minority of people who want us to make the mistake that Trump is the problem. Trump is not the problem. Trump is a symptom of the problem. What's the problem? The problem is both political parties have been totally taken over by corporations, and they turn their back on workers and students and everybody else. And that's why Trump got elected, because people could not bring themselves to vote for Hillary Clinton, and people could not bring themselves to vote for Jeb fucking Bush. We are done with the establishment, and people, by the way, the Democrats not only did they not get the message, they immediately went further right. So after they lost to Donald Trump, you think they would go, oh my God, we have to have a progressive message. They then reversed Obama's ban on lobbyist money at the DNC. They went further right. Now they're taking lobbyist money at the DNC. They got rid of Keith Ellison, and they put in another corporate tool like Tom Perez. Tom Perez is now getting booed coast to coast. When he shows up, people boo him reflexively. I have a videotape I played on my show yesterday. Now Tom Perez, when he hits the stage, he immediately tells people, hey, coming up next is our Senator Bernie Sanders. I've never seen anyone do that. Have you ever seen any? I've been in nightlife comedian my 30 years. I've never seen someone come to the stage and tell you who's coming up next before he starts his own set. That is the craze. So that's how bad it's gotten. But guess what? Remember what Bernie said? These are corporate Democrats who would rather go down on the Titanic because they have a first-class seat.
Yep.
That's what this is. They are not giving up their first-class seat. Tom Perez, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, and the rest of the Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they're all hanging on tooth and nail to their corporate gravy train. They're not going to let go. They won't even speak the word single payer because Big Pharma has them on a chokehold. They're no longer representing the people. The Democrats usurped the working class to Donald fucking Trump, and they're still trying to wag their finger at a progressive Bernie Sanders. The most popular politician in the country right now is Bernie Sanders, 57% approval. The next politician close to him is at 38, 30, that's 20% dip. That's another progressive, Elizabeth Warren. So progressives need to take over. I'm backing third party. Nick Brana has a Draft Bernie party. Right. I've already pledged money to that. I'm all on board. I'm going to be doing fundraisers for it. We got to get out of the Democratic Party. They ain't going nowhere. It is a sinking ship.
Man, I tell you though, Jimmy, man, you got me almost feeling that this whole Russia thing may not be true. Man. I thought Hillary lost because of Russia or backlash or what was it, misogyny or something. You mean to tell me it's because the Democrats abandoned working people and unions and the poor and the middle class? I mean, really, that's what you're telling me? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That sounds
remember
crazy.
When? Hey, well, Tim, you don't remember when Russia passed NAFTA? Remember? Don't you remember when Russia was pushing for the TPP? You don't remember when Russia was pushing for the TPP?
No, I don't. I remember when they kicked all of those poor black kids into welfare, into poverty, and picked them off of welfare. I remember that. I remember something about super predators too. Damn Russia. Damn Russia.
Remember when Russia told Hillary to say super predators? Remember when Russia told Bill Clinton to, hey, by the way, Bill Clinton, people don't know this. It's in this book, by the way, Listen Liberal by Thomas Frank. He had a private deal, this is true, to privatize Social Security with Newt Gingrich. So he deregulated, he repealed the new banking regulations. He then passed NAFTA, screwing over unions. He then cutted welfare, screwing over single mothers and poor kids. And what was the third thing? He exploded the prison population, repealed the banking. Every bad thing you could do as a Democrat, Bill Clinton did. And that's why we have Donald Trump. And people need to remember that. That's the problem. He had a private deal to privatize Social Security with Newt Gingrich. You know why they didn't privatize Social Security? Because the next day after they signed that deal in private, Monica Lewinsky happened. And as Thomas Frank says in Listen Liberal, Monica Lewinsky is a hero because that blowjob saved Social Security.
Give it up for Monica Lewinsky's blowjob, guys. Hero. She's a hero. Freaking hero. I'm going to throw out a couple names to you, Jimmy, and I just want you to just tell me what you think. The DNC Unity Tour, what'd you think about that?
So that's like I just said, I think it's a joke. I think it's almost like Bernie's going on that tour just to humiliate Tom Perez. Because every time they're in an interview, Bernie says, we have to point the finger. We can't be scared. We have to point the finger at the ruling elite. And there's Tom Perez sitting there. Oh, we can't point the finger. They're our friends. They give us money. So that's what I think of the. And by the way, when they say unify, they don't mean, hey, we're going to adopt some progressive ideas. And no, they mean unify around our bullshit. So that's not unity. That means fall in line-ity. It's fall in line-ity. It's not unity. And I ain't falling in line.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, which kind of brings us to what's going on with the DNC, the class action lawsuit that's underway right now where they're being sued, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC. What do you think about that, and do you think that we'll actually get some, repercussions, consequences or repercussions for Rob and Bernie?
I don't know, I don't have much faith in our court system, but hopefully we'll get in front of a jury and people will hear the facts. And I mean, everyone knows that it was corrupt. I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to resign because she was unethical and corrupt. Donna Brazile was too corrupt for CNN, for F's sake. So, they're still, by the way, she's still tweeting about Russia. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who cheated the country out of a real progressive, paved the way for Trump, is now tweeting about she wants an investigation into the corruption of our election. No, she doesn't. What she wants is a distraction from the corruption in our election, because we know what the corruption in our election was. It was the Democratic Party and the corporatists that got together to screw over a real progressive who could change the country for the better for the people. That's what happened.
Wow. What do you think about Bernie Sanders, man? Sometimes I find myself defending him from others because I feel like Bernie Sanders did a lot of the awakening that we experience now, and I don't expect him. I think some people want too much from one guy. Like, we need other voices. We need Elizabeth Warren to step up and hold true to her progressive ideas. We need Tulsi Gabbard and Nina Turner, but we also need other politicians. I think people expect too much from Bernie. What's your take on the Bernie? Does he deserve all of the criticism he gets from progressives? Well, some of the criticism.
It's tough to criticize him. I do still sometimes criticize him just because I'm so frustrated. And I'm so frustrated with the Democratic Party, and it seems like he thinks he's going to be able to change them, but he's not. And so I don't know because that's clear he's not going to change them, right? So I don't know, maybe he's just waiting to 2018 before he officially starts another party and says, I'm not trying this anymore. I don't know what his theory is, but 2018 should be a bloodbath, Tim. And you know it's not going to be. It's going to have mixed results because they're not running progressive again. The Democrats can't even say, they go, what are you for? What are Democrats? What are they for? And at town halls across the country, people are lining up saying, can you tell me what the Democrats stand for? And the only thing the Democratic politicians can say is platitudes. They go, well, we stand for our values. We lead with our values and fairness and good jobs, and we're for the middle class. So everybody could say that shit. They have no message. They have no clear idea. They have no plan. I'll tell you what the Democrats should say, and they would clean up in 2018, is they could say, we're for single payer. We're going to give everybody health care. Nobody goes broke when they get sick. Free college, end the wars overseas, and we're going to have $15 minimum living wage. That's it. And a Green New Deal, by the way. We're going to invest in green technology. People would go, because that's going to provide jobs. People would go nuts. We'd have a complete progressive government takeover, no problem. The Congress is at 13% approval rating. Bernie Sanders is somewhere around 60. You tell me what the fuck the country wants to do.
They want to follow Bernie, obviously. But I've been telling people, I believe the Democrats are. I don't think that Democrats really want to win, Jimmy. I'm telling you, man. I think
there's more money. There's more money in losing. There's money right now. There's more money in opposing Trump. By the way, if they had the election today, Hillary would lose again. That's how bad the Democrats are. If they had it, she would lose again.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
So that just goes to show you all this. And by the way, if you read the Shattered book, which I haven't, but I've read excerpts from it, the whole Russia thing was invented by John Podesta and Robbie Mook the day after she lost the election. They thought it up that they were going to go after Russia. So here are two, they're so spineless, they're so soulless, they're so empty of integrity and ethics that they would rather, instead of fix the Democratic Party and fix our country, they'd rather start a fucking war with Russia than acknowledge their own failings. That's what kind of parasites these people are. John Podesta, Robbie Mook, Neera Tanden, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile. These people are the swamp.
You just named like the four, I don't know how many is in the apocalypse, the four horsemen of the apocalypse right there, man. Sometimes, man, I feel bad about, beating up on them, man, but because it seems like, I know, see, people, start calling you like, misogynist, or you're against women, you don't love women. But, these particular women are just really hard to deal with, man. I see right through what they're doing. It's like lie machines. First, when Jordan interviewed Donna Brazile, she said, she denied that those were her emails, and now she admits those were her emails, and now she's back to denying and saying that the Russians planted those emails in her emails, like they wrote her emails. So like she's just a humongous liar. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And you know what? When I saw that clip you were referring to with Bernie, they put Bernie on the screen. They had Debbie Wasserman sitting there with Greta. And
yeah,
and it's like, it had to be painful for Debbie Wasserman to sit there and have to listen to Bernie, like, call her out and call out all the Democrats. I know Bernie, man, he needs security, Jimmy. He needs security.
He needs something. But I really, I don't understand what he thinks he's doing with the Unity tour. You know, it was originally his idea to do a Medicare for All tour, and then Tom Perez hijacked it. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, so I heard. So that's you can read.
Yeah, because you
That's
know
my
what?
reporting.
Now that I think about it, Jimmy, he was on that. He was on that tear. Like he was going to small towns, doing those town halls, and they were primarily focusing on Medicare. They were focused on
Yes.
healthcare. I was wondering
When he
where the
went
hell.
to
Yeah, go ahead.
when he went to West Virginia with Chris Hayes, he talked about single payer, and he got a room full of Trump supporters to fucking stand on their feet and applaud for it. And meanwhile, I can't get Dianne Feinstein to let single payer cross her lips. So you tell me what's wrong with the Democratic Party. There's no point to the Democratic Party. The only point to the Democratic Party is to fill their pockets with money from donors. And let me tell you something else. And I don't know if this might sound radical or crazy, but it's not, and it's true. That the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and Tom Perez would rather lose to Donald Trump than let Bernie win and take over the party.
yeah.
That is a fact.
Hell yeah, that's a fact, man. Anyone who does look, I know we have new people sometimes who don't know the background on this, man. But come on, guys, like Bernie was up how many points, Jimmy, before this freaking thing even started? Like back in the primaries in 2016, he was up like 10 points, 12, 14 points, or some crazy number, and Hillary was down 2, and they still backed Hillary. They don't want to win, man. What's this guy? This guy, I forget who it was in Kansas City, Jimmy. Who was that?
Was it James Thompson?
That's it, man. They didn't give that guy any money, and they sent the money to John Ossoff because he's another sellout corporatist Democrat, right?
Yeah, it's again, that's why I say we need a third party for sure. This isn't working. So I'm doing the draft Bernie with Nick Brana, and
Yeah.
I just think that Bernie needs to make a jump now. The Democrats are dead. Once they got in bed with Wall Street, because the Democrats are wedded to Wall Street. Well, you can't be in bed with Wall Street and then claim to fucking represent workers. Those are diametrically opposed. Wall Street wants to take your job, turn it into a low-paying job, and ship it to a poorer person in a more desperate situation. That's what Wall Street wants to do. Unions want to save those jobs. You can't be in bed with Wall Street and be in bed with workers. So right now, the Democratic Party, that's why they passed NAFTA. That's why they want to pass TPP. That's why they didn't pass card check, and that's why Barack Obama didn't put on a comfortable shoe when the teachers were getting fucked over in Wisconsin, and that's why Democratic mayors across the country gave the order to union cops to go crack the heads of Occupy Wall Street. That's the power of Wall Street money.
Absolutely, and now we got. What do you think about Barack Obama coming back out into the limelight and talking a little bit now that he's finished jet skiing and eating I don't know crustaceans off on boats and sailboats in the middle of the Atlantic. I don't know what the hell he's doing, man. The Mediterranean. That's what he's doing, and taking selfies of his wife on yachts and shit. Now he's coming back out and he's talking to people in Chicago about getting money out of politics. And then he takes what's that? How much is that speaking engagement for?
$400,000 he's taken from Wall Street. So, that idea that somehow Barack Obama, I mean, they're all again. So how is that not a problem? That's of course that's a huge problem, right? And so this is legalized bribery. That's what that is. So he's going to wait 9 months to cash in, and that's what he's doing. So they're all in bed with the people they're supposed to be regulating. And Barack Obama, he should go back to Flint and drink some more fucking water like a sellout that he is.
True.
That was disgusting to see Barack Obama go there. There are children's brains poisoned with lead. There are people with neurological disorders. And he came there, drank a glass of water, and left town. Holy fucking shit. You wonder why Hillary didn't win Michigan? You wonder why the people don't trust the Democratic Party? Because they don't trust the Democratic Party. You know why? Because the Democratic Party ain't working for them. Democratic Party's in bed with corporations, the military-industrial complex, and Wall Street, and they are fucking you actively.
Actively. No Vaseline, no mood music, no Lou Rawls, no Luther, no Candlelight, no shit. Not even they don't even give you the number after they called it Uber.
Hey Tim, you saw in Baltimore that who vetoed the $15 minimum wage in Baltimore?
Oh,
it was
Pew.
a female. Was a female black Democrat vetoed the $15 minimum wage.
Who
when
fucking
Shama
ran
Salaam
on it, Jimmy? She ran on it. She didn't just veto it, she ran on it. She was talking about it. It was part of her campaign stump speech.
And what is that? That just goes to show you, right? The Democratic Party is not for the $15 minimum wage. Her donors got to her, and the Democratic higher-ups got to her and said, if you want a future in this party, you better go against it. You better veto it. And so she did. You know, when Shama Sawant in Seattle, she's a socialist in the city council in Seattle. She's a real progressive. She got the $15 minimum wage passed in Seattle, and guess who she had to fight there? The goddamn Democratic mayor was against it. So she makes a great point, Shama Sawant. She came on my show and she said, you know, if you're a progressive, the road for your movement inside the Democratic Party leads to a graveyard.
You know what? I think, and I try to tell people they don't get it, Jimmy. Maybe you could tell them, man, I believe that neoliberalism, like that's more of a problem. If we don't get rid of the gatekeepers and the people that are standing in the way of progress within the Democratic Party, we got nothing. Because those are the people, man. Those are the people we got to get rid of traitors first. Like, you can't go to war and have traitors in your camp. You just can't do it. So, like, I'm an independent. Are you affiliated with any party, Jimmy?
Well, I joined the Democratic Party so I could vote for Bernie in the primary, but I didn't vote for him. I voted for the Green Party in the presidential, and now I'm not voting. I'm not Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. No.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we're getting almost down to it, man. Oh, since we started off talking about media, man, what do you think about Bill O'Reilly? Like, now you see what's happened. Like, he started his podcast already. Like, he didn't even waste time, brother. He's already started something new. And Tucker Carlson comes in. What are your thoughts about that whole? I don't know what the hell you call that.
Well, it's just so weird. You know, Fox News, they're such an odious bunch of motherfuckers. And they're always punching down, and they're always angry at the people who have no money and no power. Do you think that they were going to be nicer to the people who worked with them? They're fucking cretins to everybody. They're cretins. They're not just shitty to fucking poor people or minorities or women or they're fucking shitty to everybody, including the people who work for them. And the thing that's so gross, it's like those guys could get hookers. They got more money than they know what to do with, so they can have sex with pretty women anytime they want. But what they really wanted was power over women. So what Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes did is like one little sliver above rape, because that wasn't really about sex. That was about me asserting my power over you. And so if you want to have a better career, you better have sex with me, and now I own you. And so what Bill O'Reilly's doing right now, I guarantee you, Tim, Bill O'Reilly's at home right now trying to convince his right hand that there's better career opportunities in it for his right hand if it jerks him off right now.
Did you hear the part where there are black employees with a lawsuit against Fox News because they were forced to fight, to arm wrestle and shit like Django? Can you believe this shit, Jimmy?
I can totally believe that shit. And to the black people, hey, guess who else is racist? The Klan. You shouldn't get a job at the Klan either. Like, what the fuck did you think? Hey, these guys who are racist, they were racist to me too. No shit.
But come on, Jimmy, making them like grease up their arms and go arm wrestle, that's like that. You know, I've worked with some racist companies, you know, and I never expected them to do that shit. Like, that's next level. That's something special right there. You know, I don't. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's their new motto. They're taking racism to the next level.
That's the new tagline. Huh? Oh, man. And look, Jimmy, man, I don't know what else, man. Is there anything I did? Oh, someone asked a question about, I'm sorry, Campsey Grothendieck. She asked a question. I'm curious about your wife. Since she does the show with you, I feel it's an acceptable question. I don't know, Jimmy. If you want to answer, you can. She says, has she helped you with issues pertaining to women's rights? Like, do you bounce ideas off each other? Does she kind of like give you ideas for stories? That type of thing.
Yeah, all the time. She's a teacher, right? So she has a real unique perspective because being a high school teacher. And, you know, that's why I wrote that joke about her where she, you know, when she got out of college, she was top of her class. And, you know, she could have went to Wall Street and helped people, but she decided to follow that money train all the way to sophomore English. So and she's also thank you. She's also 100% Mexican. So she also brings that perspective of a person of color, right? So I grew up, you know, a white guy and a white blue collar guy. I grew up poor with 11 siblings. And so she grew up here in California. So she has a real unique perspective. And yeah, so that, yeah, I do bounce stuff off her all the time.
That's amazing, man. And one last question, Jimmy. How did you get into? Did you always do political comedy? And like, what made you start
No.
doing it? Yeah.
Well, what made me start doing it was the Iraq War, right? So the Iraq War happened right when I hurt my back, and I couldn't really move for a couple years around real good. I had some back problems, and so I was on my couch for a long periods of time watching the news, and I just could not get over how shitty the news was. I couldn't get over that they were beating the drum for war in Iraq. I couldn't believe how they silenced people who were anti-war, and that's what made me start talking about it on stage. And I did it everywhere. I remember the first time I started doing jokes that were negative about George Bush was in Houston. True story.
Oh, damn.
True story. A guy in Houston yelled, he stood up and he goes, "Hey, he's protecting your freedom of speech. Now shut the fuck up." That's a true story. I was caught in a riddle.
Man, look, Jimmy, man, you've been an amazing guest, man. Thank you so much for your time, brother. Is there anything you want to tell these folks that you didn't get a chance to say that you want them to take away or whatever?
I just want them to, I'm going on tour to do live Jimmy Dore shows across the country. We're going to be in Chicago on June 10th. June 10th is when the People's Summit in Chicago is. I decided to do a show there that Saturday. So you can go to jimmydorecomedy.com and look for the shows that's going to be coming to your town, and I hope to see you guys there. Thanks for having me on, Tim. This has been a blast.
Man, hey, thank you for accepting. Thank you. We're on a different time zone, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, go find Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Comedy. What's that website address again, Jimmy?
jimmydorecomedy.com.
jimmydorecomedy.com. Guys, go do that. If you're not subscribed to Jimmy, I don't know what's wrong with you. This must be a physical problem. You should get that checked out. But make sure you do that.
And you can buy my book My Book is Your Country's Just Not That Into You. You can watch my special on Hulu. I have a special on Hulu right now running. I have lots of stuff, so check out whatever you want, jimmydorecomedy.com.
That's it, man. Give it up for Jimmy Dore, jimmydorecomedy.com, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Jimmy. I'll see you on the next video, man. And keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thanks.
We love you. All right.
Bye back at you.
You got it, brother.